Listeners, this is the first podcast on our European MSD, Military Self-Defense, and CQC, Close Quarters Combat Training, not only for military PERS, but also for interested civilian combative enthusiasts. We get regular inquiries wanting to know more about our history, lineage, and connections with previous generation leading MSD and CQC master instructors, and about our training packages. If it is simple, best of battle proven, quick and quiet dirty tricks brigade, self-defense and close quarters combat you're looking for, MSD and CQC is it. I'm not talking traditional fighting arts or combat sports based self-defense techniques or hybrid styles based on such practices. I'm talking close to point blank, bodily contact range skills for battlefield kill or die actions on, or urban jungle self-defense skills of threat neutralization, where there are no rules, weight divisions or gender categories. Real life threats like violent criminal assault and sexual violence. The Todd Group is the oldest private global training provider of our European military self-defense and European military close quarters combat systems. The facility was established by the late Sergeant Major Harry Baldock, a World War II New Zealand Army military unarmed combat and military self-defense chief instructor. He first started instructing CQC and military self-defense in 1927. I started training from Harry in 1973 and took over the Baldock Institute as chief instructor in 1983 when he retired. The Baldock Institute became the Todd Group with the changing of the guard. The Todd Group is made up of schools of instruction that include Self-Defense School, CQC School, CQB School, and Close Personal Protection School. We also instruct defensive tactics for law enforcement. We are primarily military combative training providers, but also conduct training for specialist law enforcement, close protection including diplomatic protection, the security industry, and anti- and counter-sexual violence as part of our Declare War Against Rape Tactics and Skills training program. The old headquarters facility has been in the same building since 1936. Every civilization had their self-defense and combative means and methods, but arguably European military close quarters combat and close quarters battle dating back to the ancient Greco-Roman and Celtic armies has the longest history in formalized military, armed and unarmed combat and military self-defense. Growing up for me meant I needed to know how to deal with bullies and often adult bullies. I quickly learnt that some thug wanting to cause you harm that was much bigger, stronger, older, and that cared little about the laws of the land was truly a danger. Top lightweight fighters simply don't contest titles against top heavyweight fighters, and females don't contest male titles. New Zealand has a long history in military close quarters combat and military self-defense dating back to the bush and forest ranges. I soon found out traditional arts or fighting sports were not the best ways for me to deal with violence. The underdog up against a much physically superior overdog has little chance of winning, but using dirty, foul military self-defense skills changes things by considerable and gives the underdog the best combative chance of winning, not merely surviving. By not settling for anything other than Allied military CQC training instructed by high-ranking military instructors, I was ensuring that the tactics and skills I learnt and instructed to my exponents were military primary warcraft tradecraft practices. Military CQC and military self-defense are mill tradecrafts and as such must continue to evolve to remain current in order to combat and counter changes and threats. Being armed with the most current, best of battle proven skills stands to increase one's chance of winning, not merely surviving an assault. Military self-defense and military unarmed combat made best sense to me, and this was when the martial arts, including martial arts movies, were all the rage. My dogged determination to train, test and qualify in MIL CQC and MSD as a civilian from the best of Allied military master instructors has led to my instructing career to the military, including the military elite. I have spent my working life doing what I do best and am fully committed to. The outcome through wanting to be trained by such legends in military close combat is a resume and lineage of no other living military self-defense and military unarmed combat instructor. Not even my military high-level instructor counterparts that I hold in the highest regard underwent the training and instructor qualifications from the Allied military chief instructors I did. I am the only member of our Military Close Combat Instructors Association to have such certification from Baldock, Nelson and Applegate. I'd done my research back in the 70s and found out that after World War II, instructors had an unwritten rule that they would not instruct the primary restricted methods they did in World War II as they were deemed too dirty and deadly. When I entered the Baldock Institute, Harry refused to instruct me in his military unarmed combat and military self-defense training packages. So it was wrestling, Western Jiu-Jitsu, boxing and physical culture for me. That is until he agreed to train and instructor qualify me personally and individually in his military unarmed combat and military self-defense packages. Harry taught me his full European military self-defense and armed and unarmed combat programs, and this got me interested in other Allied forces World War II military close combat instructors. Through his parting of knowledge and advice, I underwent training between the mid-1980s and late 1990s annually at the School of Self-Defense, New York, and was instructor certified there by Charles Nelson, a former U.S. Marine hand-to-hand combat instructor and the founder and chief instructor of the Charles Nelson School of Self-Defense, New York. During my time in the United States, I was invited to visit Colonel Rex Applegate at his home in Oregon to learn his specialist skills training. I had the privilege and honour after this initial visit, up until Colonel Applegate's death, of not only his guidance and instruction, but also delivering military armed and unarmed combat skills from his kill or get killed close combat packages to the military elite. I volunteered for training under some of the next generation of military combative master instructors, leading to achieving Army Elite Forces Combative Master Instructor certification. There was no slot or cell for CQC instructors in our military at the time, so on Harry's advice I volunteered for training, travelling extensively, gaining experience in the military close combat tradecraft of our allies. There were names that I would hear regularly from other military instructors that included Fairburn, Sykes, Applegate, O'Neill, Calvert and others. Wanting to be the very best instructor I possibly could be motivated me to seek out and undergo training from as many of the leading military combative instructors of the previous generation as I possibly could. Colonel Applegate trained me not only in his system, but also showed me some of the primary skills of Fairburn and Sykes in both unarmed and armed combat. This was important to me as Fairburn and Sykes had passed on by this time. I was fortunate to meet Michael Brandt, who completed his military hand-to-hand combat basic advanced and instructor courses under another highly regarded World War II instructor in Pat O'Neill at Fort Bragg during World War II, and was a lifetime friend of his. This was my chance to learn of the late Pat O'Neill and his skills. Charlie Nelson was a World War II senior hand-to-hand combat instructor at Paris Island and served in the Guadalcanal. He trained and served with a Sergeant Patrick Kelly, who had been a member of the Shanghai Municipal Police, along with Fairburn, Sykes and O'Neill back in the 1930s. Charlie learnt of Pat O'Neill's system from him, as well as training from Colonel Biddle, another well-known instructor of the era. Through my military instructing, I met up with soldiers that had undergone their unarmed combat training under Pat Shocker Shaw, who was trained by Brigadier Mad Mike Calvert, that received his training in military armed and unarmed combat and military self-defense directly from Fairburn. This provided more of an insight into Fairburn's system, and just last week I had a visit from a Vietnam vet that underwent his CQC training under Shocker Shaw. This has been a glimpse of my more than 40 years of European military, armed and unarmed combat and military self-defense training lineage, and the great people that directly or indirectly made this possible. I have continued with the work of my former legendary instructors in all aspects of the military self-defense and close combat tradecrafts. I have been a military elite master instructor for over 25 years, and I am the holder of the doctrine and training packages. My military CQC Master Instructor certification includes Master Instructor certification from 2 different allied countries. Military self-defense and military armed and unarmed combat simply gives the underdog increased chances of putting a stop to a formidable overdog by the best of battle-proven foul, dirty tricks brigade threat neutralization practices. Well, listeners, that brings to an end this short introduction into the Todd Group Schools of Instruction and my background as a civilian qualified in military self-defense and military armed and unarmed combat by some of the leading instructors of yesteryear and the next generation of military Master Chief Instructors. In upcoming podcasts, I will go into tactics and skills and other related tradecraft subject matter. For more in-depth subject matter information, go to cqctimes.com and toddgroup.com.